Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a fantastic night, a great night's sleep, and they're off to a running start and grab the day, finish off the week super strong for Friday. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Palantir. I wanted to give you a raw, uncut, unfiltered train of thought about what's happening with Palantir. Yesterday, something very interesting happened, and I don't want to read too much into it, but it was definitely an interesting day. Palantir was up 5%, while the NASDAQ was down 1.5%. And I know it's just a single day of trading. I know I got you. However, I still wanted to talk about it. So there's a couple of reasons why this could have happened, and I'm going to try to explain it. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. As always, I'm not a financial advisor, purely entertainment and education, but I do want to speak about it. So number one, it could be absolutely nothing and just a coincidence. Let's call it Palantir was just oversold. At one point, something gets so cheap, even in a bear market, that you're like, yo, listen, it's just not going to hit lower than this. And if that's the case, then the bottom price of Palantir is just sub of $8, which means when Palantir hits $7.50, when Palantir hits like low sevens, that is basically the floor of the price of Palantir. Not saying it is, I'm just saying that can be an explanation. That's one. 2 and 3 kind of go hand in hand. So I made a video the other day where Palantir Gotham was in the back screen of an article that came out, and it was in one of the ministers of Ukraine on his computer. And it can't be 100% confirmed, obviously, that was Palantir Gotham, but it sure did look like Palantir Gotham. And we know that Alex Karp was the only CEO, I think until now still, that came to Ukraine, as opposed to other CEOs that, spoke over a Zoom call. And Alex Karp openly supports what's happening right now, like openly supports not the war, but openly supports Ukraine. And his position of, through technology and through software, now you have David and Goliath situations throughout the world. As you can see firsthand with David and Goliath, David being Ukraine and Goliath is being Russia. And he says that now all around the world, countries are going to see that every single David can have a slingshot. Every single David can now have a chance. And the slingshot is what? Palantir. So Palantir is the secret weapon to all smaller countries, non-aggressor countries, whatever you want to call that, being attacked and able to defend themselves against the Goliath like Russia, okay? Now, there's a lot more that comes into play, but software and AI technology is a huge play, which then leads you into what happened yesterday, Taiwan. So Taiwan has kind of a similar issue to China, as Ukraine has with Russia. Now, I'm not taking sides of who's right or who's wrong, but China sees Taiwan as part of China, and Taiwan sees themselves as a completely independent nation. So we all know that Ukraine took like 6,000 kilometers back from Russia of Ukrainian territory. They mounted a crazy offensive that was like the biggest offensive since like April. And how did they do it? They basically used technology to see what's happening. And if you're listening to any news outlet, they're all going to say that one of the key factors here is intelligence, satellite imagery, so on and so forth. Meta constellation. They're not saying that, but I'm going to give credit to Palantir. Not all of it, obviously, but I believe a lion's share of the intelligence, a lion's share of the software being used is from Palantir. And then, of course, you have the actual like equipment, hardware, things like that. But the software part, which is what Palantir wants to do and be and kind of is the software prime of the DoD and, America and her allies. So now Taiwan, for the first time, is getting direct military aid. I believe it was like a $5.7 billion package. And $2 billion of the 5.7 is a loan to Taiwan to be able to buy military equipment and all sorts of different types of military equipment. So I believe that a lot of people are putting this together of, hey, hold on a second. Palantir is also now going to help Taiwan. Palantir is going to get international contracts and grow international business with the allies of the United States. And if Palantir had something to do with and can help Ukraine, it's possible they can help Taiwan. And now that's a completely different scenario because Taiwan is an island and it has like two smaller islands closer to actual mainland China. So it's all about surveillance. It's all about, AI software. So I believe that that's possible. Maybe it could be all three. It could be one. It could be all three altogether. It could be that people are just like, yo, this company is super undervalued. It can be that people are like, hey, Palantir has something to do with Ukraine. And it could see that, the world is never going to be what it was before. This whole globalization and kumbaya, it's just not going to happen. It's not happening internationally, and it's not happening nationally within our borders, right? We lived in an effed up place. Let's just be super, super honest. Over the course of the last 5 years, we as a society have been decaying. In maybe some way, some shape or form, Palantir can help us sustain some relevance, right? Some sort of normality, whatever. So I believe these are a couple of things that can be happening. So this guy, Stanley Drunken Miller, is a billionaire and he's somebody. He's not a nobody. And he's an OG investor for Palantir. I believe he invested in Palantir 14 years ago and he's diamond handing. He's not selling. I did a video on him. He's worth like $3.5 or $6.5 billion. He's up there. He has a lot of money. And he's actually a friend of Dr. Alex Karp. He's a friend of Palantir. And I wish Palantir would do more interviews with these OG investors, especially people that hold weight, right? These people's names really, really hold weight. And they were talking and they had this whole interview and a couple of interesting things. So number one, Stanley is comparing Dr. Alex Karp to Apple. To Steve Jobs. And basically, Palantir is coming up with technology that the world needs, but they don't know that they need it yet. And when they have it, they'll know. Commercial business is growing massively for Palantir. And a couple of things that Dr. Alex Karp was saying. He's saying that commercial revenue is going to continue to skyrocket, is continue to grow. And he's like, yesterday, nobody wanted to deal with us. And today, they still might not want to deal with us. But they're willing to talk to us today to see what we have to offer that can possibly be applied to their business tomorrow, if that makes sense. So yesterday, nobody gave an F about us. Today, people are paying attention and willing to speak to us for possibly being integrated for tomorrow. And he went on to say that, listen, we came up with something completely different where we're building an entire enterprise software, a very, very deep solution for essentially all your problems, an empire builder, really, really a solution. And it's not a solution for today. It's a solution that you're going to be needing in 5 years from now, which means as your company evolves, the software evolves with you. The software really, really helps your company be a behemoth, be a monster, be a force to be reckoned with. And then he started laughing kind of, and he took a jab at Snowflake, where he didn't say Snowflake, but he's like, we decided to focus on engineering where we hired engineers. And you have other companies that they have like 5 employees for every 1 engineer. And he's talking about Snowflake and the Snowflake Salesforce, how they have like 5 Salesforce for every 1 engineer. And then he went on to say that the engineers of Snowflake wouldn't even be able to work for Palantir. We would never hire them. Again, he didn't say Snowflake, but you guys can read between the lines. And why did he do that? He goes like, listen, all these other companies are super hyped up. Yes, they have a great sales force. Yes, they have good PR. Yes, they have good marketing. And yes, they're trying to scale up. But at the end of the day, they do shit work. And their shit work has a huge market. It does. There is a huge market for the shit work that they do. However, there is an ever-growing market for people that are now understanding, hey, we need better solutions. We need deeper solutions. We need solutions that anybody, including like me, Adam Bergman, and you guys on the other side of the screen can use Palantir Foundry platform, and you don't have to be some crazy coders. You don't have to be some crazy engineers. As opposed to a lot of other people's programming, you have to be an engineer just to use their programs, and that's the difference. And he says, when we first came out with our products, people said nobody's ever going to want to use you. And now Palantir is kind of in the limelight, and people are like, hold on a second. It's not whether we do or don't want to use you. Let's understand what exactly you do, because there's something that you do different than everybody else, and people cannot copy, right? People cannot emulate what you're doing. People are trying, but it's not exactly the same. And Dr. Alex Karp mentioned that right now there's going to be a huge issue with supply chains, especially because globalization is on the decline. So now you have to be able to source your resources, and now you have to be able to acquire what you need in order to build and make what you do as a company. And Palantir can help you with all of that through their AI data analytics in near real-time solutions. And again, Palantir is not just the obvious information in front of you, right? Palantir gathers information literally from the world. And I don't want to over-dramatize this, right? But when I say for the world, I mean several domains. Land, sea, space, air, the space. I'm talking about like literally outer freaking space. So this is what's happening with Palantir right now, guys. And at the end of the day, as an investor, look at what's out there. You don't think Palantir is an amazing deal? Like, your question is this, not if Palantir has the technology. Palantir has the best technology. The question is, can Palantir scale their technology? Is the world going to a place, or is the world already in a place where they have no choice but to recognize Palantir? Both government and non-governmental business, and in government, both military and non-military business. Right now, the government is going to ramp up spending. When? Starting October 1st, this is the new fiscal year for government spending. Guys, the answer for me is simple. I look around and I try to find myself really good values. I literally bought myself Microsoft and Google the other day. I spent like $20,000 on them. And I'm like, I should have probably bought more Palantir. Thing is, I am heavily into Palantir. So, and I really wanted Microsoft. I really wanted Google in my portfolio when it dropped to a certain point. But I'm looking at it and I'm literally like, yeah, this is a sure bet, almost, Microsoft and Google, that it will go up a certain amount. However, it's a slow and steady bet, as opposed to Palantir. You're not sure if it's going to go up, but the risk to reward ratio is so unbelievably huge, especially at the $7 and $8 price per share, right? There can also be a very interesting scenario in the world right now where we are going to hit a recession, a global recession, and a lot of companies are going to have an earnings recession where earnings are going to go down and down. But Palantir is going to keep going up because they work with government. And finally, I just want to say, take into account that Palantir charges in US dollars. There's a huge conversion right now. Remember, the euro to US dollar now is 1-to-1. The euro used to be like 1 euro for every dollar, right? So for to get 1 euro, you need to spend $1.10, right? $1.15. Now it's 1-to-1. Euro and dollar is just as strong. Dollar is actually a bit stronger. Pound used to be like $1.40 for every 1 pound. Now it's $1.15 for every pound. And because of this disparity now, let's say you charge a European country like $1 million, right? Let's say $1 million in US dollars. Well, now the country for $1 million US dollars, let's say they would have to spend 900,000, right? But now for that $1 million, they still have to spend $1 million of their own money, their own currency. And this also has an effect about what's happening. Guys, thank you so much. Please give me the likes. Please give me the shares. Please give me the subscribe. And let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about Palantir. Do you guys think this was an okay review? What are your thoughts? And again, these are just my thoughts about everything that's happening, uncut and unfiltered. Have a great day.